The quantum resonance detector's insistent beeping cut through the gentle hum of the Meridian's bridge, like a particularly annoying alarm clock that had developed sentience and a grudge. Doctor. Elena Vasquez glanced up from her archaeological analysis pad, where she'd been cataloging pottery fragments from their last dig on Kepler 186f, and frowned at the readout scrolling across her secondary monitor. "Well, that's not supposed to happen," she muttered, setting down her stylus and leaning closer to examine the energy signature patterns dancing across her screen. The waves were too regular, too geometric to be natural. After 15 years of digging through the remnants of dead civilizations, she developed a sixth sense for the difference between random cosmic background radiation and something deliberately constructed by intelligent minds. Captain Torres noticed her sudden interest from his position at the central command console. "Something interesting, Doc." Elena tapped her comm badge. "Define interesting, because if you mean potentially career-making discovery that might also get us all killed by angry aliens, then yes, absolutely fascinating." The bridge crew chuckled, but Elena's attention was already fixed on the data streams. The energy readings were coming from the third moon of Kepler 442c, a chunk of rock they dismissed as geologically uninteresting during their initial system survey 3 days ago. Now, however, her instruments were detecting organized electromagnetic patterns emanating from beneath its surface, patterns that suggested artificial construction on a massive scale. Commander Lyralei, their Etherian liaison officer, glided over from her monitoring station with that peculiar grace her species possessed. Her elongated, pointed ears twitched slightly as she reviewed Elena's findings, a subtle tell that Elena had learned indicated either deep concentration or suppressed alarm. Given that Lyralei's ears were currently performing what appeared to be an interpretive dance, Elena suspected the latter. "These readings," Lyralei said, her melodious voice carrying an undertone Elena couldn't quite identify, "they originate from the moon designated as Kepler 442c III. The boring one, yes." Elena highlighted the most significant energy spikes on her display, except it's apparently not so boring after all. "Look at these harmonic frequencies, they're not random. Someone or something built structures down there, and they're still active." Lyralei's ears went completely still, which in Elena's experience was roughly equivalent to a human suddenly developing a severe case of statue syndrome. The Etherian commander stared at the readouts for what felt like an uncomfortably long time, her violet eyes growing wider with each passing second. "Commander." Captain Torres approached, his expression shifting from casual interest to professional concern. "Is there something we should know about this system?" Lyralei hesitated, which was unusual. In the 6 months since joining their expedition, she'd been unfailingly confident and direct. "I must consult with my superiors immediately. Captain, I respectfully request that we maintain our current position until I receive further instructions." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Further instructions for what exactly?" "Finding some old rocks that happen to glow in interesting patterns." "I mean, I'm flattered that my discovery might require interdimensional bureaucracy, but shouldn't we at least take a closer look before calling in the space lawyers?" "Dr. Vasquez," Lyralei said, her formal tone returning, "I must insist that we proceed with extreme caution. These energy signatures may be more significant than they initially appear." The way she said "significant" made it sound like code for potentially world-ending, which Elena found both intriguing and slightly concerning. She'd dealt with enough ancient alien artifacts to know that the really dangerous ones usually came with subtle warning signs, like normally composed alien officers suddenly developing nervous ear spasms. "Significant how?" Elena pressed. "Are we talking archaeologically significant, or everyone put on your running shoes significant?" Before Lyralei could answer, the ship's long-range communications array began receiving an incoming transmission from the moon's surface. The signal wasn't directed at them specifically. Rather, it appeared to be an automated broadcast triggered by their proximity, a distress call that had been waiting centuries for someone to come close enough to hear it. Lieutenant Morrison, the communications officer, looked up from his console with confusion written across his features. "Captain, I'm receiving what appears to be a repeating message, but it's not in any language our translation matrix recognizes. The signal structure suggests high-level encryption or possibly a completely unknown linguistic framework." Elena was already moving toward the communication station before Morrison finished speaking. "Let me hear it." The bridge filled with a hauntingly beautiful sequence of harmonic tones that seemed to resonate not just in the air, but somehow in the bones and mind of everyone present. The melody was complex, layered with mathematical precision that suggested both artistic expression and encoded information. "It's gorgeous," Elena murmured, then caught herself. "And probably asking for help, knowing my luck with ancient alien technology. The last time I heard something this pretty, it turned out to be a warning about reality-consuming nanobots." Lyralei had gone very pale, her skin taking on an almost translucent quality that Elena had never seen before. The Etherian was staring at the communication console, as if it had... Elena adjusted the straps on her environmental suit for the third time in 5 minutes, partly because the gravity compensators were acting up, and partly because nervous fidgeting helped her think. The shuttle bay of the Asterisk Meridian hummed with pre-mission activity as her survey team conducted final equipment checks, though the atmosphere felt decidedly less enthusiastic than usual. "I still think this is monumentally stupid," Dr. Kowalski muttered from behind his geological scanner, shooting pointed looks at Elena every few seconds. "We could be opening Pandora's box down there, except instead of releasing plague and pestilence, we might accidentally delete reality." Elena shouldered her portable analysis kit and grinned. "Come on, Tom. Where's your sense of scientific adventure? Besides, if we're going to accidentally break the universe, at least we'll have front-row seats to the show." Commander Lyralei approached their group with deliberate steps, her pointed ears angled back in what Elena had learned was the Etherian equivalent of a grimace. Despite her obvious reluctance, she'd insisted on accompanying the surface team personally, a decision that had sparked 3 hours of heated debates with Captain Torres, and what sounded like several extremely colorful arguments with her own superiors via subspace communication. "The atmospheric readings remain stable," Lyralei announced, consulting her wrist display. "However, I must reiterate my strong recommendation that we maintain minimal contact with any active systems we encounter." Elena nodded absently while double-checking her linguistic analysis software. "Absolutely. We'll be very careful not to touch any big red buttons labeled End Universe here. Though in my experience, ancient aliens had a frustrating habit of making their most important controls look like decorative sculptures." 20 minutes later, their shuttle Asterisk Curiosity descended through Kepler 442c III's thin atmosphere toward the coordinates where Elena's sensors had detected the strongest energy signatures. The moon's surface appeared deceptively barren from orbit, but as they approached the landing site, subtle geometric patterns became visible in the rocky terrain, lines too straight and angles too perfect to be natural formations. "There," Elena pointed through the viewport at what looked like crystalline spires jutting from the ground. "Those formations are definitely artificial. Look how they're arranged in that spiral pattern. It's mathematically precise." The structures weren't immediately impressive in size, rising only about 20 meters above the surface, but their composition defied easy categorization. The material appeared to be some kind of translucent crystal that bent light in ways that made Elena's eyes water when she looked directly at it. "My sensors are getting confused," Lieutenant Chen reported from the pilot's seat. "These crystals seem to exist in more dimensions than our instruments can properly measure, The quantum resonance is off the charts. Elena laughed. Oh good, multi-dimensional architecture. Because regular three-dimensional alien ruins weren't complicated enough. They landed about 50 meters from the nearest crystal formation, and Elena was first out of the shuttle, her boots crunching on the regolith as she approached the structures with barely contained excitement. Up close, the crystals hummed with barely audible harmonics that seemed to respond to her proximity. "Elena," Lyralei called out, her voice tight with anxiety, "please maintain a safe distance until we can establish the nature of these formations." "Safe is relative," Elena replied, pulling out her handheld scanner and beginning to record everything. "Besides, look at these inscriptions around the base. These symbols aren't in any database I've ever seen, but the linguistic patterns are fascinating." The symbols appeared to be carved directly into the crystal itself, flowing in elegant curves that seemed to shift slightly when viewed from different angles. Elena's pattern recognition software was having fits trying to categorize the writing system, but her trained eye could see the underlying grammatical structures. "This is incredible," she murmured, running her fingers just above the inscriptions without quite touching them. "It's not just writing, it's layered. There are at least 3 different information levels encoded here. Surface meaning, harmonic resonance patterns, and something else I can't quite identify." Dr. Kowalski approached with his geological equipment, shaking his head as his readings displayed impossible results. "These crystals aren't made of any known materials. The molecular structure appears to be stable, but my scanners keep insisting they're simultaneously solid, liquid, and gaseous." "Maybe they're having an identity crisis," Elena suggested. "I can relate." Lyralei had been maintaining her distance, but Elena noticed the Etherian's ears were slowly rotating to track different sounds coming from the crystal formations. "Commander, are you hearing something we're not?" "The harmonics," Lyralei admitted reluctantly. "They're familiar. These resonance patterns match fragments of ceremonial songs from my world's oldest traditions. Songs we sing without understanding their original meaning." Elena looked up from her linguistic analysis with sudden interest. "Songs about what?" "The first builders, the ones who came before. We always assumed they were metaphorical, but—" Lyralei's voice trailed off as she stared at the crystals with growing recognition. "But now you're standing next to their actual construction projects," Elena finished. "That must be surreal. Like discovering your grandmother's lullabies were actually technical manuals." As Elena continued her examination of the inscriptions, her scanner began detecting additional energy sources deeper within the crystal complex. Following the readings led her to what appeared to be an entrance, a triangular opening that hadn't been visible from their landing site. "Found a door," she called back to the team. "Well, I'm assuming it's a door. Could be a garbage disposal. With ancient aliens, you never know." The opening led to a descending tunnel lined with the same impossible crystal material. Emergency lighting activated as they entered, casting ethereal patterns on the walls that seemed to move independently of their light sources. "The good news is they left the lights on," Elena commented as they descended. "The bad news is we're probably not the first visitors they were expecting." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber that defied the moon's apparent size. The space stretched far beyond what should have been possible given the surface dimensions of the crystal formations, suggesting either advanced spatial engineering or Elena's depth perception had finally given up entirely. Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber as their presence triggered dormant systems. Star maps, technical the asterisk meridian's asterisk proximity alarms began their cheerful symphony of impending doom approximately 37 minutes after Elena accidentally turned the ancient alien library into what appeared to be a multi-dimensional distress beacon. Captain Tor's voice crackled through their comm units with the kind of forced calm that usually preceded either promotions or court-martials. "Survey team, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace." Recommend immediate extraction. Elena glanced up from the Progenitor interface she'd been frantically trying to understand, noting that the warning symbols had multiplied exponentially and were now pulsing in what she could only describe as an aggressively concerned manner. Define multiple, Captain. Are we talking small diplomatic party multiple or galactic neighborhood watch committee multiple? Try interdimensional block party that nobody invited us to multiple, Torres replied. I count at least 12 distinct ship configurations, and they're all powering weapons. Dr. Kowalski was already packing his equipment with the efficiency of someone who'd participated in several hurried evacuations. This is exactly why I suggested we stick to nice, safe, dead planets. Dead planets don't send party invitations to every hostile species in the sector. Lyralei remained transfixed by the holographic displays, her ears twitching as she processed the streams of Progenitor data. Elena, these threat assessments, they're not just warning about the ships arriving now. There's something else, something the Progenitors were monitoring. The harmonic frequencies suggest a massive cosmic event, but the timeline indicators are. She paused, her violet eyes widening. The timeline indicates it's happening now. Now as in, sometime this millennium, or now as in, everyone should probably start running. Elena asked, though she continued working with the interface rather than heading for the exit. The Progenitor text was becoming clearer the more she studied it, and what she was reading was simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. Now, as in the quantum resonance patterns match current galactic positioning, Lyralei replied. Elena, I think your activation of this system wasn't an accident. I think it was waiting for someone with the right neural patterns to access it. But Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the moon's thin atmosphere. Right neural patterns. What makes my brain so special? I mean, aside from its impressive ability to find trouble in supposedly safe archaeological sites. But before Lyralei could answer, Lieutenant Chen's voice joined the conversation from their shuttle. Folks, we might want to expedite this discussion. I'm reading massive energy signatures from several of those ships, and they appear to be targeting the crystal formations. But Elena's hands moved faster across the Progenitor interface as more information became accessible. The ancient database was revealing details about something called the Devourers, entities from beyond the galactic rim that consumed entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty space in their wake. According to the records, the Progenitors had fought them to a standstill millions of years ago, then had gone into hiding to prepare for their eventual return. Oh, wonderful, Elena muttered as she processed this information. So we've got garden-variety hostile aliens outside and cosmic horror legends making a comeback. Tuesday just keeps getting better. The chamber's lighting shifted to what Elena assumed was emergency mode, bathing everything in pulsing amber light that made the holographic displays even more dramatic. Additional interfaces materialized throughout the space, each one clearly designed for different species' physiologies. Elena noticed that one appeared to be perfectly sized for human hands. Lyralei, look at this. Elena called the Etherian over to examine the human-compatible interface. This isn't coincidental design. Someone specifically built this for human operators. Lyralei studied the interface with growing amazement. That's impossible. Humans weren't even a spacefaring species when these systems were built, unless... She paused, processing implications. Unless the Progenitors seeded your development specifically for this purpose. Elena blinked. Seeded our development, like genetically engineered humanity to be compatible with their technology. That's either incredibly flattering or deeply disturbing, possibly both. Elena, Dr. Kowalski interrupted from near the chamber entrance. Whatever profound revelations you're having about human destiny, could we maybe discuss them somewhere that isn't about to be turned into a crater? The ship-to-surface communication crackled again with Captain Tor's increasingly urgent updates. Survey team, I'm reading weapons lock from multiple vessels. Whatever you triggered down there has definitely gotten their attention. Elena found herself torn between scientific curiosity and basic survival instincts, though curiosity was winning by a significant margin. The Progenitor database contained information that could revolutionize understanding of galactic history, and the human-specific interfaces suggested her species had a predetermined role in whatever cosmic drama was unfolding. "Just give me 2 more minutes," she called back, her hands flying over the holographic controls. "I think I can access their defensive systems. The progenitors wouldn't have built a library without including some kind of security measures." Lyralei moved to stand beside Elena at the interface, her expression shifting from terror to determination. "If you're staying, I'm staying. My people's legends speak of the great alliance between the first builders and those who would inherit their legacy. If those legends are true, then Etherians and humans are meant to work together. Great Alliance sounds much more optimistic than Cosmic Horror Prevention Society," Elena noted, while navigating deeper into the progenitor systems. "Though I have to say, if this is divine destiny, the orientation process could use some work." The interface responded to her neural patterns, unlocking sections of the database that had remained sealed for millions of years. Elena found herself accessing not just historical records, but active monitoring systems that had been tracking galactic development, watching for signs that the Devourers were returning. The monitoring network, the retreat of the hostile fleets, should have been Elena's cue to celebrate. But the Progenitor database had just revealed information that made their weapons seem like a minor inconvenience. According to the data streams flowing through her consciousness, the Devourers weren't just returning. They were already here, hidden in the spaces between dimensions, waiting for the right moment to begin their final harvest. "Elena," Lyralei said softly, studying her friend's face with growing concern, "your eyes are glowing." Elena blinked and looked at her reflection in the crystalline interface surface. Sure enough, her brown eyes now held flecks of the same ethereal light that emanated from the progenitor technology. "Well, that's either really cool or really concerning. Given recent events, probably both." The connection with the ancient database was becoming stronger, more intimate. Elena could feel the accumulated knowledge of millions of years flowing through her mind, bringing with it an understanding of humanity's true origin and purpose. The progenitors hadn't just seeded human development. They had created humanity as living keys to their most powerful technologies. "The Devourers feed on dimensional energy," Elena explained, her voice taking on harmonics that matched the crystal formations around them. "Every time a civilization develops faster than light travel or quantum manipulation, it creates vulnerabilities they can exploit. The progenitors realized they couldn't stop technological progress, so they created a species that could serve as a biological interface with their containment systems." Dr. Kowalski's voice crackled through the comm from their shuttle, where he was monitoring the retreating alien fleets. "Elena, whatever's happening down there, it's affecting local space-time. My instruments are reading temporal distortion spreading out from your position." "That would be the early warning network coming online," Elena replied, her consciousness now spanning across multiple star systems as the progenitor monitoring stations reported in. "Apparently, when you activate one node, they all activate. The galaxy is about to get very crowded with ancient alien technology." Lyralei's ears were rotating frantically as she processed the implications. "Elena, if the Devourers are already here, why haven't they attacked?" Elena smiled, though the expression carried weight it hadn't possessed hours earlier. "Because they've been waiting for someone to turn on the lights. The Progenitor Defense Network was designed to be activated by their chosen successors, humanity, when the threat became imminent. We're not just archaeologists who stumbled onto something important. We're the universe's cosmic IT department, and someone just called in the biggest technical emergency in galactic history." The chamber filled with new holographic displays as Elena's enhanced connection to the database deepened. She could see the locations of devourer infiltration points throughout known space, hidden in the quantum foam between dimensions like cosmic parasites waiting to emerge. The good news, Elena continued, is that the progenitor containment systems are still functional. The bad news is that activating them requires a human consciousness to serve as a central processing unit. Someone has to merge with the network to coordinate the galaxy-wide defense. Lyralei's face went pale. Elena, you can't seriously be considering. Actually, I already did it, Elena interrupted with characteristic nonchalance. About 3 minutes ago, when I decided to go deeper into the database, instead of running for the shuttle like a sensible person. I'm now officially part of the Progenitor Defense Network, the universe's newest cosmic security guard. Captain Tor's voice joined the conversation with barely controlled panic. Survey team, we're reading massive energy discharges from multiple points throughout the system. Whatever you've activated is spreading. Elena nodded, though she was simultaneously monitoring events across 17 star systems. The network is coming online everywhere humans have traveled. Every colony, every research station, every exploration vessel is now connected to the early warning system. Humanity just became the galaxy's immune system. The process of integration was strange, but not unpleasant. Elena retained her personality and memories while gaining access to technologies that could reshape reality itself. She could feel the presence of other humans across space, beginning to establish similar connections as the network expanded. So what happens now? Dr. Kowalski asked from the shuttle. Do we all become cosmic superheroes, or is this more of a chosen one saves the universe situation? Elena laughed, and the sound harmonized with the crystal formations around her. Neither, actually. The progenitors were smarter than that. They designed the network to be distributed, thousands of humans serving as nodes in a galaxy-spanning defense grid. No single points of failure. No chosen ones who might get themselves killed doing something heroic and stupid. Lyralei moved closer to the interface where Elena stood, her expression mixing admiration and sadness. You're changing. I can see it happening. I'm growing, Elena corrected. Like humanity was always supposed to. The progenitors didn't create us to replace them. They created us to become something new. A bridge between biological intelligence and cosmic technology. The chamber's displays shifted to show real-time images of devourer entities beginning to emerge from their dimensional hiding places, only to retreat as progenitor containment fields activated across the galaxy. The cosmic predators that had terrified ancient civilizations found themselves facing a defense network operated by a species they had never encountered before. They're confused, Elena observed with amusement. The devourers were expecting the same static defenses they faced millions of years ago. Instead, they're dealing with human creativity applied to progenitor technology. We're improvising solutions faster than they can adapt. Through the network, Elena could sense other human operators developing their own approaches to the containment systems. Scientists on distant worlds were turning archaeological sites into fortress nodes, while exploration crews were converting their ships into mobile defense platforms. Elena, Lyralei said quietly, will you still be you? Elena turned to face her friend, her glowing eyes soft with affection. I'll be me, plus a few million years of accumulated wisdom,